Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a 6-year-old child, not playing, not laughing with friends, not watching cartoons. Instead, this child is standing in a cold training hall before the sun has even risen. His small hands are wrapped in cloth, his knuckles are already bruised, his legs are shaking from exhaustion, and yet, there is something in his eyes that does not belong to a child. There is a fire there, a quiet, burning, unshakable fire. This child does not know the word famous yet. He does not know what a box office record is. He does not know that one day his name will be spoken in the same breath as Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and Jet Li. He only knows one thing. He knows that if he stops, if he quits, something inside him will die. So he does not stop. He never stops. That child's name is Wu Jing, and this is his story. A story that took 37 years to reach its peak. A story of silence, sacrifice, rejection, and then, one of the most explosive comebacks the world of cinema has ever witnessed. If you have ever felt overlooked, if you have ever worked hard and wondered whether it was all worth it, if you have ever stood at the edge of giving up, then this story is for you. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear will change the way you see your own life. To understand Wu Jing, you have to understand where he came from. Beijing, 1974. China is a country still finding its footing after decades of political and social upheaval. But inside one particular family in Beijing, there is a tradition that goes back generations. Martial arts, not as a sport, not as a hobby, as a way of life, a code of living. Wu Jing's grandfather was a martial artist. His father was a martial artist. So when Wu Jing was born on the 3rd of April 1974, his path was not exactly chosen. It was inherited, but inherited in the best possible way. It was passed down the way values are passed down. The way a flame is passed from one candle to another. When Wu Jing was just 6 years old, his father made the decision. He enrolled his son into the Beijing Wushu Academy, and I want you to understand what that actually meant. This was not a weekend class. This was not something you did after school for fun. The Beijing Wushu Academy was one of the most rigorous martial arts training institutions in all of China. Children who entered that academy gave up their ordinary childhoods. They woke before dawn. They trained through pain. They pushed their bodies to limits that most adults would never dare approach. And the most remarkable thing about Wu Jing? He chose it. Even at 6 years old, there was no resistance. There was no crying to go home. There was only a child who looked at that hard floor, those demanding instructors, those impossible standards, and said yes. That yes would echo for the next 4 decades of his life, 20 years. Wu Jing spent 20 years at the Beijing Wushu Academy. Let that number settle for a moment. 20 years of training, 20 years of discipline, 20 years of waking up before the rest of the world and going to sleep long after it. The same academy, by the way, where Jet Li had once trained. The same floors, the same walls, the same impossible demands. Wu Jing trained alongside some of the most gifted young martial artists in China. He was not just good, he was exceptional. By the time he was 15, he had joined a full competitive martial arts team. By 17, he had won the National Jousting and Sparring Championship. National champion. At 17. But here is the thing that most people miss about Wu Jing's early life. It was not just the physical training that shaped him. It was the mental architecture that those 20 years built inside him. When your body is broken down every single day and rebuilt, when you fall and get up so many times that falling becomes meaningless, when pain becomes your daily companion rather than your enemy, something shifts inside you. You stop fearing difficulty. You stop running from hard things. You start to understand, deep in your bones, that the only way through is through. Wu Jing did not just learn kicks and punches at the Beijing Wushu Academy. He learned the most important lesson a human being can learn: how to endure. And that lesson, more than any film, more than any box office record, is the true foundation of everything he would later become. April 1995. Wu Jing is 21 years old, still at the academy, still unknown beyond those walls. The world outside has no idea he exists. And then fate walks through the door. His name was Yuan Wuping. If you are a fan of action cinema, that name should send a small chill down your spine. Yuan Wuping is not just a martial arts choreographer. He is a legend. He is the man who designed the fight sequences for The Matrix. He is the man who worked with Jackie Chan on some of his most iconic films. He is the man who choreographed Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. He is, quite simply, one of the greatest action directors who has ever lived. And on that April day in 1995, Yuan Wuping came to Beijing Wushu Academy for one reason. He was looking for someone. He was casting for a film called Tai Chi Boxer. He needed a martial artist who could carry scenes on screen. Someone with real skill, real presence, real fire. He watched the students train. He observed. He evaluated. And then his eyes landed on Wu Jing. One look. That was all it took. One look from one of the greatest eyes in martial arts cinema. And a 21-year-old from Beijing was suddenly cast in his first film. Wu Jing did not win a lottery that day. He did not get lucky. He got seen. And the reason he got seen was because he had spent 15 years making himself impossible to ignore. Preparation met opportunity, and a career was born. Tai Chi Boxer came out in 1996. Wu Jing was on screen. He was good. People noticed his physicality, his speed, his presence, but the phone did not exactly start ringing off the hook. The early years of Wu Jing's acting career were not a rocket launch. They were a slow, grinding, relentless climb. Film after film. Television drama after television drama. He appeared in Legend of Dagger Lee in 1999. He worked through the early 2000s in various productions, building his craft, learning the language of cinema. He was not just an athlete performing stunts. He was genuinely studying acting, studying storytelling, learning how a camera works, how an edit flows, how an audience feels. 2005 came SPL Chapeau Lang, a film that is now considered a Hong Kong action classic. Wu Jing appeared opposite Donnie Yen in one of the most electrifying fight sequences in modern martial arts cinema. Critics noticed. Audiences noticed. The industry noticed. This should have been the breakthrough. But it was not. Because Donnie Yen was the star. Wu Jing was the incredibly talented opponent. He was the supporting brilliance that made the star shine brighter. And there is a particular kind of pain in that. In being genuinely excellent and still not being the one people remember. He kept going. Fatal Contact in 2006. Twins Mission in 2007. Invisible Target in 2007. Shaolin. In 2011 alongside Jackie Chan. The Mummy. Tomb of the Dragon Emperor with Brendan Fraser. He was working. He was always working. But the breakthrough, the moment where Wu Jing himself was the reason people bought a ticket, remained just out of reach. I want to pause here for a moment, because this is the part of Wu Jing's story that most people skip over. They jump from Discovered by Yuan Wuping straight to Wolf Warrior broke records. But in between those 2 points, there are almost 20 years. 20 years of showing up, 20 years of being good but not celebrated, 20 years of watching other people step into the spotlight while you waited in the wings. Think about what that does to a person. Think about the conversations Wu Jing must have had with himself in those quiet moments. The doubt that must have visited him late at night. The voice that must have whispered, maybe this is all you are ever going to be. A supporting player, a talented man in someone else's story. And here is what makes Wu Jing extraordinary. Not his kicks, not his speed, not even his films. What makes him extraordinary is that he never let that voice win. He never accepted the ceiling that the industry was quietly placing over his head. He never became bitter. He never became small. He kept studying. He kept training. He kept believing. While the world looked past him, he was preparing. And preparation, silent, invisible, unglamorous preparation, is the most powerful force in the universe. Because it is always, always building toward something. Wu Jing is 41 years old. By Hollywood standards, by Bollywood standards, by almost any film industry standard, a 41-year-old action star is past his prime. The roles get smaller. The budgets get tighter. You start playing the mentor, the villain, the wise older figure in someone else's coming-of-age story. That is the conventional path. Wu Jing did not take the conventional path. Wu Jing took everything he had, his savings, his credibility, his reputation, his security, and poured it into a film. A film that he would write, a film that he would produce, a film that he would direct, and a film in which he would play the lead. Wolf Warrior. The premise was bold for Chinese cinema at the time. An elite Chinese soldier, discharged from the military, who finds himself drawn into a conflict with a ruthless international mercenary force. It was an action film with genuine patriotic heart, and nobody in the industry believed in it. The budget was small by blockbuster standards. The naysayers were loud. People within the industry openly questioned whether Wu Jing had lost his mind, investing his own money into this project. But Wu Jing understood something that his critics did not. He understood that the only stories worth telling are the ones you believe in completely. And he believed in this one with every fiber of his being. Wolf Warrior was released in 2015 and earned $89 million. Not a massive number by global standards. But for Wu Jing, it was everything. It was proof. It was confirmation. It was the universe saying, keep going. And he did. 2 years later, Wu Jing stepped back into the arena. And this time, he was not playing it safe. Wolf Warrior 2 was a production of staggering ambition. The story followed his character, Leng Feng, now a former soldier living in Africa, who gets caught in the middle of a war zone while trying to rescue Chinese citizens and African locals from a deadly mercenary force and a catastrophic epidemic. Wu Jing took his entire crew to Africa. Real locations, real heat, real danger. During the production, 22 members of the crew were bitten by venomous spiders and suffered temporary paralysis. Wu Jing himself was injured during filming. He brought in Sam Hargrave, the action director of Captain America: Civil War, to elevate the action sequences to a Hollywood level. He brought in the underwater photography team from Pirates of the Caribbean. He enlisted international cast members including Frank Grillo and Selena Jade. He was building something that had never been built before in Chinese cinema, and he was doing it with his own blood, sweat, and money. Wolf Warrior 2 was released on July 27, 2017. In the first 4 hours, it crossed 100 million yuan. In 25 hours, 300 million yuan. In 5 days, 1 billion yuan. On July 30th, just 3 days after release, it recorded the single biggest daily box office figure in the history of Chinese cinema, 360 million yuan in a single day. By the time the dust settled, Wolf Warrior 2 had earned 5.6 billion yuan, over $870 million US dollars, from China alone. It became the highest-grossing Chinese-language film ever made. It knocked every record off the shelf, and at the center of it all was a 43-year-old man who had been told for 20 years that he was not quite good enough to be the star. Wolf Warrior 2 was not just a box office phenomenon. It was a cultural earthquake. It topped the global box office on its opening weekend, beating Dunkirk, beating every Hollywood release that was in theaters at the same time. In China, it became a national event. People watched it multiple times. Families went together. Schools organized screenings. The image of Leng Feng holding the Chinese flag against a wall of fire became iconic overnight. But beyond the spectacle, beyond the numbers, beyond the nationalism and the pride, there was something deeply human at the heart of this story. A man had bet on himself when no one else would. A man had refused to become invisible. A man had taken every year of rejection, every year of near misses, every year of watching others get the recognition he deserved, and turned all of it into fuel. The pain became power. The patience became precision. The silence became a storm. And when that storm finally arrived, the whole world felt it. After Wolf Warrior 2, the world could not get enough of Wu Jing. In 2019, Forbes China named him the #1 celebrity in the country. Not number 10, not number 3, number 1. The Wandering Earth, a science fiction epic he starred in the same year, grossed $700 million worldwide and launched a whole new chapter of Chinese blockbuster cinema. In 2021, The Battle at Lake Changjin, co-directed by the legendary Zhang Yimou, became one of the highest-grossing Chinese films of all time. Hollywood came calling again, this time in a different way. Meg 2, The Trench in 2023, alongside Jason Statham, placed Wu Jing on the global action stage as a genuine leading man. Not a supporting role, not a cameo, but a co-lead in a major international production. And through all of it, Wu Jing remained the same man who woke up before dawn in Beijing as a 6-year-old child. Disciplined, focused, humble. When asked about his extraordinary success, he did not talk about strategy or marketing or industry connections. He talked about wanting one good night of sleep. That is the mark of a man who has never lost himself in the noise. So what does the life of Wu Jing teach us? It teaches us that the timeline of success is not something you can control. You can only control your preparation. You can only control your consistency. You can only control whether you show up today. Whether the world is watching or not. Wu Jing trained for 20 years before a camera ever found him. He worked in the industry for another 20 years before the world truly recognized him. 40 years. 40 years of discipline before the moment that changed everything. And here is the most important thing. He was not waiting during those 40 years. He was building. Every film he made, no matter how small, was a brick. Every role he played, no matter how brief, was a lesson. Every year of struggle was not wasted time. It was foundation. The House of Wolf Warrior was built on 40 years of invisible work. Think about that the next time you feel like your efforts are going unnoticed. Think about that the next time the world seems indifferent to how hard you are working. Wu Jing was ignored for 2 decades, and then he made the world stop and pay attention. Not because he got lucky, not because someone finally did him a favor, but because he never ever stopped building. There is a wolf warrior inside every single one of us. A version of you that does not quit. A version of you that wakes up before the world and goes to sleep after it. A version of you that bets on yourself when no one else will. The only question is whether you are willing to find that version and then fight for it every single day. This has been the story of Wu Jing. Thank you for watching ZTV Mindset, where every story we tell is a reminder that the greatest chapters of your life have not been written yet. Subscribe. Share this video with someone who needs it today, and we will see you in the next story. Because the legends never stop, and neither do we.